I love 14-inch gaming laptops. They're extremely portable, but still have a lot of power for their size. And today, we've got a familiar face, the HP Omen Transcend 14. Terrible name, I know, but the laptop itself looks pretty damn good. I reviewed last year's model back when I was still mute, and it was really good, but it did have its limitations. So is this new one any good? And more importantly, should you buy it? Well, let's find out. And please like and subscribe if you like these type of videos. From the outside, HP did a great job making a small, thin and light gaming laptop. It's got a full aluminum body all around, so it feels very rigid and it shouldn't explode if you accidentally drop it or something. It is a little bit of a fingerprint magnet, but nowhere near as bad as a razor blade. But it also comes in a very pretty white color, which basically fixes the fingerprint issue. Now this thing is light. You can easily carry it around with one hand, even if you're an absolute stick like me. This is exactly why I like these sizes. They're very comfortable to use on the go. And it is pretty much the thinnest gaming laptop you can buy, which feels great in the hands. Now for its size, it still has pretty impressive specs. An Ultra 9 and an RTX 5070 is certainly nothing to scoff at. But unfortunately, HP limited this poor thing hard by capping its GPU to only 75 watts. We saw what this did to performance on last year's model, and unfortunately, it is quite a big limitation. And probably because of that, there's also no higher spec models of it, so it caps out at an RTX 5070 configuration. Now, despite that thinness, it's still got a very good port selection. Especially since it's got ports on the back as well, which keeps cables out of your way. Now you might have noticed that it doesn't have any charging ports. Well, that's because it can only be charged through USB-C, and it comes with a 140 watt charger. This is really cool, since it makes it very versatile, but with other USB-C charging bricks, it only goes up to 100 watts of charging. And I'm afraid that 140 watt power brick is exactly why they had to limit the GPU so much. Other gaming laptops at this size have way higher wattage power bricks, since they use a proprietary charging port, and those laptops can give more power to their GPU. We will see what this means for performance later on in the video. Now onto the keyboard. This is not a per key RGB backlight, unlike with the OMEN Max 16, but I believe there are models that offer this option. The Omen 14 has this 4-zone RGB lighting, which does look pretty, but it's a lot dimmer and a little bit lamer than on the OMEN Max 16. As for the actual typing experience, it's very satisfying. It's got some nice tactility. And while typing might take a bit to get used to, since the keys are so close together, I quite like it. What is weird though, is that every time you start the laptop, these function keys are automatically set to their FN combinations. So what you would normally get when you get the function key. This is very minor, but it can be a bit annoying. If any one of you have a solution, please comment it down below. As for the trackpad, or touchpad, it is made of plastic, but it still feels very sturdy. And while the click is very satisfying, it requires a bit of force to press down, so it isn't the most comfortable. This can vary per unit though, so don't take it for granted. But hey, it's nice and big, so nothing to complain here. This laptop's best feature though, just like last year, is definitely its display. At 3K 120Hz with an OLED panel, this is the best of the best you can get at this size. It is incredibly sharp and very pretty. It's got beautiful colors, infinite contrast, and those blacks are black. 120Hz is also plenty smooth for fast-paced games in my opinion, and worlds better than 60Hz. It gets nice and bright as well, reaching a maximum of 500 nits, and it's got a slight anti-reflective layer on it, which does remove some reflections. It does still have some, but it's nowhere near as bad as some absolute mirrors we've seen with other OLED displays. Now, as for the hinge, it doesn't open up all the way, which is a bit of a bummer. And while the hinge itself is nice and opens up easily with one hand, if you slightly push on it, the bottom will come up a little bit, which can be a bit annoying. It's also got quite some display wobble, but this isn't really a problem during actual typing. And now for the most exciting part, its speakers. These sound amazing, and maybe some of the best speakers I've heard on a laptop. It's got a very nice punchy sound, quite a lot of bass, it sounds clear. And even though it only has downfiring speakers, they just sound great. They don't get super loud though. In heavier games, you might not hear everything through the fan noise. Overall though, I really look forward to the comparison with the current speaker king of laptops. The OMEN Transcend 14 has a pretty good webcam and microphone. The microphone is a little hissy and the webcam is a little low res, but they're both more than good enough. Now, I am dying to see how this thing performs, especially with those very harsh power limits. In Cinebench R23, its CPU does pretty well, but it lags behind other laptops with the same chip by quite a bit. So at least multi-core wise, it is quite a bit slower. But in 3D Mark TimeSpy, we really get to see those power limits cuck the GPU quite hard. This RTX 5070 performs more like an RTX 4060. Or a low-power 4070. We'll dive deeper into this a little bit later in the video, but first I want to see it play some actual games.
You'll never take me down. Where's it going on?
What did you do, man? No!
So it still ran everything quite well. But it's clear that this RTX 5070 is underperforming due to those wattage limits. This is not a 3K gaming laptop for modern games. You'll have a way nicer time just turning the resolution down to 1200p and getting a lot higher frame rates. And 1200p on a 14-inch display still looks very nice. Sure, it's not as crisp, but at the distance you're sitting from this thing, it's not bad at all. But it's a real shame that HP had to limit this thing so hard. Because there's plenty of other 14-inch gaming laptops that don't have these limitations, and they perform a lot better. For example, the TUF A14 has an RTX 5060 and actually outperforms this thing, just because it doesn't use a lower power USB-C charger. But we'll compare this thing to another very similar laptop in the next video, so stay tuned. Now, just like with the OMEN Max 16, when it comes to temperatures, it becomes a little bit more complicated. In the OMEN Gaming Hub, you can set some custom power limits for the CPU and GPU, and also change the dynamic boost. I ran all of these benchmarks with that smart performance gain on the highest setting of 15 watts. And with these settings, its CPU did run pretty hot, reaching maximums of around 94 to 96 degrees Celsius. This isn't concerningly hot, and it didn't thermal throttle or anything, but it is still hot. When we turn this smart performance gain off though, the temperatures do go lower, reaching maximums of 89 to 93 degrees Celsius. But in this mode, it performs even worse than it already does, so I don't know which is the better option here. The GPU stayed nice and cool in both modes though, which isn't super impressive since it's not using a whole lot of power anyways. Now as for its fan noise, this thing is very quiet for a gaming laptop. Definitely one of the quietest ones so far. Not to mention, it stays completely silent when you're doing very light tasks, which is very nice for if you use it in class. But since it doesn't use very much power, how does it do in terms of battery life? Well, I tested it in two scenarios, under light use and during gaming. In the light use scenario, I played a YouTube video until its battery died at full brightness at 60 Hz and with its dedicated GPU turned off. And yes, it does have pretty good battery life. It's not the best of the best, but you'll probably make a full school day with this. Now in the gaming test, I played Battlefield 1 until its battery died with the same settings as before. And like most other gaming laptops, it only lasted about an hour. Remember, if you want to play games on battery, get a handheld PC like a Steam Deck. Now what does thin and light not mix well with? That's right, upgradeability. A thinner body and less space just means you do not have very many modular components. The only thing you can upgrade on the Omen 14 is the SSD. It only has one slot, so you'll have to reinstall Windows on it as well, or clone the old drive. So no upgradable RAM and not even an upgradable Wi-Fi card. But what makes or breaks this laptop is its pricing. So how much does it cost? Well, here in Europe, they're not very available from retailers, but you can buy it directly from HP, and they have some nice deals sometimes. For this RTX 5070 model, it's currently $2,400, which is okay, but a little bit on the high side. The RTX 5060 model though, is a lot more affordable, and maybe even a reasonable price. And don't forget that last year's models are almost identical to this one, so if you can find a good deal on those, I'd say go for it. Yes, that is pretty high for these specs, but with 14-inch gaming laptops, you're paying for the size, not the performance. I'll put some links for these laptops in the description below, if I can find any of them. Now for the big question. Is the 2025 OMEN Transcend 14 worth it? Well, I'd say yes. And no. It is a beautiful little laptop, and it does almost everything right. It's got great speakers, a gorgeous display, a satisfying keyboard, and with a thin and light full aluminum body, it feels almost perfect. But its performance is very disappointing. Yeah, sure, it's cool that it only charges through USB-C, but that wattage limitation on its RTX 5070 is holding it back very hard. I mean, this thing is barely faster than an RTX 4060 laptop. And since I know that there are 14-inch gaming laptops out there with higher power limits, it's a pretty hard choice. So I'll make it simple for you. Here's my advice. If you want to mainly game on this thing, don't get it, because there's a lot faster options out there at 14 inches. But if performance is secondary to you, yeah, it is a very good laptop. If the Zephyrus G14 didn't exist. These two laptops are almost identical, except the Zephyrus doesn't have power limit issues, and it even has higher spec options, and they are very close in price. So let's compare those two in the next video, shall we? Stay tuned. Now let me give a huge shout out to my YouTube members. Soundwife, Thomas, Inky, Mr. Frosty Dude, Dropzone1, Martijn Snijkers, Flimsy, Aki, Disco Volante, Daniel, Mr. Nuke, Sebastian, Christian Sands, Real Elf, Alan, Toasted, Suryansh, Eric the Rad, Walter, Wesley Rhodes, Michael, Ghost Data, and Ano Gedar. If you become a YouTube member, you get early access to content of mine, a shout out at the end of every video, and you'll also be supporting me as a creator to make these videos. And of course, you'll also be part of the Cool Guys Club, so you can use cool emojis like these in the comment section. So join the club if you're interested, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.
What's that damage? Bruh.